Hello and welcome to another Skaredcast tournament in review. This is my first event with Reaper's Wager, but it's all witch cult with a single death jester as well.
The Dark King.
Hello and welcome to another Skaredcast tournament in review. If this is the first time you've tuned in, I go to a tournament, I take a list, and I learn at the event. So we're going to go over the army list that I've created. Reaper's Wager, Witch Cult, a mix made in heaven. Maybe the Dark City instead. And then I'm going to go play 3 games of Warhammer 40,000 at a local RTT here at the Tabletop Forge. And then I'm going to come back to the studio and explain what I learned. So, without further ado, let's dive in. And here we have 2,000 points of Reaper's Wager. That's right, Reaper's Wager, the brand new Grotmas Detachment. And this is the first event that I'll be going to, except I'm playing a very wild and wacky list. Being that it's my first event after coming back from the LVO. So I want to try something wacky, something different, something that you don't see very often, and I decided to go for all witches. Keeping in the spirit of the Reaper's Wager, though, I did bring a single Harlequin, a Death Jester. There you go. So that's my justification for Reaper's Wager. But then we have a Succubus with 10 witches, and she has the Arc Raider enhancement. So her and her 10 witches go in the Raider, which will give the Raider a 9-inch scout at the start of the game, which is awesome. Lilith, and then 2 more units of 10 witches, which all get split up in the 3 venoms that I have. So Lilith and 5 in a venom, the other 5 in a venom, and then that unit gets split up with 5 in a venom, 5 on foot, and then we got 10 in the Raider. And that's all of the witches, that's 30 witches. Then we have the 2 Beast Masters, which just really put on a lot of early game pressure. Of course, I've got the 2 Beast Packs, and I might as well use them. I don't think you need to, but we'll get to that at the end of the event. When we come back, I've got 2 units of 3 Reaver Jet Bikes. I've got a single Kronos. Yes, I know it's not Witch Cult. And the only reason I put it in is because I don't have another 3 Reaver Jet Bikes since one of my Reaver Jet Bikes disappeared, and I needed to make sure that I had a fully painted army. Then we had 3 units of 5 Hellions. I really think Hellions work quite nicely in Reaper's Wager. They do quite a bit of damage. They're great skirmishing units, and their damage output is increased, especially because they have access to the lethal hits stratagem within the Reaper's Wager detachment. And then we round it down with 3 units of 5 Mandrakes, which also help with a lot of scoring. And last but not least, 2 Razorwing Jet Fighters. They are no bomber, but I do think that with access to either the sustained hit stratagem or the lethal hit stratagem, that maybe their damage output is high enough to justify bringing them. But let's find out. Let's go to the event, play 3 games of Warhammer, and then come back and break it all down. Here at the League Invitational for the Toronto, Barrie, and Durham region. Opponent number 1. Guess what he's playing? Big Knights. That's right. A Warhound and whatever. It's gonna be wild. Mission Warbling Supply Drop and Hammer and Anvil. And we're playing on WTC style boards. So really looking forward to it. I got, of course, my Witch Cult list. Very excited to see how silly this is gonna be. I'm not really trying too hard, but I'm gonna have fun. It's gonna be great. That's why we bring big things like this. There's also Nurglings. Oh no, too many Nurglings. So let's do this. Okay, so game 1 went into a Warhound Titan, a Asterius Titan, and 9 Nurglings. It was very interesting because the Warhound can be the Warlord, but it's not a character. So when I drew Assassinate, it's not one of those cards you can just redraw, which was really funny when we got to that little thing. But I was able to essentially go first. They don't have full back and shoot. They can stay in combat and shoot, but I was able to basically tie them up for the first couple of turns. This one stayed back here all game because I just kept on throwing stuff at it. And then they shot stuff and killed it. But I have so many little units that it's very hard to sort of like not get bogged down when you're playing a super elite army. Of course, it's just an army for fun. I'm also playing a meme army for fun, which is interesting because this is the invitational from the leagues. So like, you think we'd want to really just like go hard? Nah, we're just playing stupid stuff. And of course, after LVO, I just wanted to try something silly. And I've had this concept in my back pocket for a while. Reaper, by the way, amazing. I was able to kill a Nurgling unit with my Death Jester, and then that gave me like full Reaper's Wager, reroll 1 hit and wound, because there was literally only Titans left for like the rest of the game, which was actually really an interesting little mechanic. I want to give a shout out to that Razorwing Jet Fighter that survived against this Titan shooting it 2 turns in a row against the conversion beamers and like a bunch of bald Volkites. Lived with 1 wound, battle shocked, so a little shaken, but still alive. At the end of the day, it was supply drop, so I was able to get the objective in the middle and kind of hold it. So big point differential, but it was a great fun game with Alex. So other than that, let's go on to round number 2. Okay, round number 2. Playing against Star Shatter Necrons with triple DDA, a bunch of Triarch-Stalkers, the Nightbringer, some Reanimators to make it very hard to kill them, and then a bunch of Flayed ones for scoring and some Destroyers as well. I'm, of course, playing, Witches. So we'll see. It is Super L's, and Taken Hold Hidden Supplies, which is one of the toughest missions for me, period. With Hidden Supplies, making it even harder. So we'll see how it goes. I like stress testing ideas like this, but once we get back to the studio and I talk about like the list concept and what I learned, I'll have more of an idea what I'm trying to do with it. Okay, end of the game. I ended up winning. It was I won by like 10 or 11 points or 9 points, and I was able to go first, and then my scouting units killed all the Flayed ones, and then I just kept on throwing little 10 OCs onto the objectives to prevent primary because it was Taken Hold, which is really tough. And then my planes actually came in, and because there was so many targets, the DDAs had to focus on stuff that weren't planes on that one turn, and then the planes came in and nuked all of his support pieces that were hiding back here. I killed like Imhotep the Stormlord, I killed some Ophidians, I killed like one of the Destroyers, so all the little pieces he needed for end of game, which then gave me just enough leeway to then be able to focus on winning. But it was not an easy game into Star Shatter. And with that, on to the last round. I think I get to play some Space Wolves. Okay, so at the end of the game, I did end up losing by a little bit of time. They were going to run up onto my objective. Witch Cult, can't really deal with giant bricks like this. I killed a lot of other stuff. A couple of heartbreaking moments, almost killing Bjorn, leaving him with 1 wound. He was marked for death, and I had to bring a down point. Left that Impulsor on a wound, this Bjorn on a wound. But you know what? I had a ton of fun playing a Witch Cult-based list. Honestly, I didn't really need the Chronos. Whatever, I didn't really use the Chronos. Definitely not a competitive build because there's no Kabalite Warriors, so I can't sticky my objectives or anything like that. However, it's a nice framework to start with. So let's head back to the studio and I'll talk about it, because I think with Reaper's Wager, the lethal hits was like my favorite strategy of the entire event. It was nice to play some fun games and not really worry too much about it. So with that, Witch Cult, let's go. And we're back at the studio. I did end up winning 3rd place. Ba-bow! There's another trophy for the trophy rack. Let's find a spot for this. Way over here. There we go. Boop. Nicely done. Reaper's Wager, Witches. So let's break down the list, because I learned quite a lot. And I really like this list concept. It's fun, it's wacky, it's a little bit out of the ordinary. And I really think that the theme of the list is worth exploring, which means I'm probably gonna run it again. Would I run it at like a super major? Probably not. But for RTTs and like fun events or battle reports, I'm probably going to try it in a few battle reports. I just want to show it off. Maybe we'll add a little bit more Eldar in there, like the Harlequin aspect, because it is Reaper's Wager, so a Void Weaver or 2. I don't know. There's a couple of things, but let's go over the list itself, what worked, what didn't work, and then I'm going to go over the changes I would make to this list. So things that really worked. The Death Jester was okay. Did fine things. The Lone Up and reroll 1s to hit and wound, pretty snazzy. The unit I know works all the time is Lilith. Lilith and 5 Witches and a Venom is like a staple. She's just incredible. However, the one unit I was pleasantly surprised by as a long-term Drukhari player was the Succubus with 10 Witches in a Raider. This unit with Arc Raider moved up the board and engaged the enemy quite early on. And they did more damage than I would have ever expected a unit of witches to do. Since the inception of the index, I've never felt comfortable getting witches to kill anything, except for Lilith and infantry. But with the addition of the lethal hits, considering the Succubus gives the unit sustained hits, the ability to get a scout move with a Raider to get them up the board, and then a potential advance and charge or ignore Overwatch, I really liked this big unit of witches with a Succubus. It was probably the thing that surprised me the most, and I think that's going to be one of the things that remains in this list. The beast packs were awesome. I don't think you need 2 beast packs. They just do what they do. They clog up the works early and allow the rest of the army to sort of stage. However, I think the points are spent better elsewhere. I don't think you need 3 units of mandrakes. I think you get away with just 2 as well. They were great, just uppy downying and doing actions and things like that, which is what they're useful for. I really like the little units of Hellions. However, I think 3 was a little too many. Is there such a thing as too much MSU? Sometimes there is if your MSU doesn't do enough damage. I think what I'm gonna have to do is conglomerate and basically have 1 big brick of 10 Hellions and then 1 unit of 5 for skirmishing duties. The Reaver jet bikes were okay. They're probably one of the most disappointing parts of this whole list because that heat lance just doesn't do anything at all every single time. It's such a disappointment. I wish it was just cooler. I want them to be so good, but sadly, I don't know if I need to take more or less. It's just they don't seem to do what I want them to do. Last but not least, the 2 Razorwing jet fighters. I think that's like the main thing. It's like, yeah, they're okay. I love them. They look so cool. They're awesome. However, they just don't do enough damage. And I could take them both out, put a Void Raven Bomber in, save myself 100 points, and I think that would just be better, right? So looking at this as an initial concept, I really like the concept. So what would the list look like with some of the changes that I would make in order to just sort of like do the second run? I've already played 3 games, no, actually 3, 4. I've played like 5 games already with this list, and I've been back from LVO for like a week. And I've already played 5 games with this list. I'm going to play more. I've got the Happy Crumping team event that we're playing with the Denizen Patreons and the Happy Crumping Wargaming Patreons and members. And I've decided to run like basically this list, except it's TTS, so I can take the Kronos out, put another unit of jet bikes in, which is basically the list itself. But what would I change? What does it look like? You know, basically doing the things that I said I would do. And then I'm going to do it again. I'm going to take it to another event. I'm going to play some more games, do a battle report with it, and see if I can make it tick. And there we have it. This is 1,810 points. And I switched out a bunch of stuff. So I dropped a unit of beasts. I dropped one of the witch squads. I dropped the Kronos, because that was silly. Both of the planes, sadly, because the Void Raven Bomber is just infinitely better. And I've added a few things. So I've added a Cavalite squad with an Archon, who's now my Warlord. So that gives me access to the Vect aura, which is incredibly important. And if you want to play competitively with Drukhari, I think Cabalite warriors are one of the most important elements to sticky objectives, which is something I really did feel I needed when I was playing the Witch Cult. Like having to sit something to babysit an objective is not always the best. I basically combined 1 unit of Hellions into 1 big unit. I also combined the Reaver jet bikes into a big unit. Maybe MSU jet bikes is not what I need. Maybe I just need like a larger unit. I still have 1 unit of skirmishing Hellions. I added a unit of Scourge with Haywire because I wanted to kill some tanks at range. Dropped 1 unit of Mandrakes. And that is 1,800 points. I feel like this list is a lot more focused. That does mean I have about 190 points left. So some of the things I could do is add in like a Void Weaver, right, which is a Harlequin tank. I could take away this guy and add in 11 Harlequins as a troop and with a Shadow Seer, for example. That would be another good choice as well. To have like another brick of infantry for the Reaper's Wagers specifically. But this as a core, I think works really, really well. And then I've got about 190 to 200 points to spend. And I did put the Arc Raider on the Succubus, but you could easily put it on the Archon if you want to scout the Cabalites forward to try and sticky like an objective in the middle of the board early in the game. So let me know what you think down below. How would you sort of like modify this list? I'm probably going to play 4 to 5 more games with it and then tweak it some more and then tweak it some more. And eventually the core of the list I think is pretty much set. And then like, well, he's not part of the core, I don't think. Because then you could run it with like Sky Splinter, Detachment, or even Real Space Raid if you really wanted to. But I think it works really well in Reaper's Wager. But just let me know with a comment down below. You could add Talos as well if you wanted like a couple of Talos. If you want some like Coven units, you could add some Kronos in there as well. If you want some paint token regeneration, there's a whole variety of ways that you can really make this work. So let me know with a comment down below what you think. And there you have it, everybody. Another tournament in the bag. Actually, since January 27th, 2024, I have played 121 tournament games. I have won 98 of them. That's an 81% win rate at tournaments. That's not including battle reports. That's not including TTS practice games. That's not including like random leagues that I played. I'm just letting you know that I've been playing a lot of Warhammer and I enjoy doing cool things like this because it breaks up the monotony. And I hope you find value in what I talk about. I mean, if you've learned something, amazing. Let me know what you've learned in a comment down below. A huge shout out to all the channel Patreons, without whom none of this is possible. And a huge shout out to Dan from the Red Dragon for sponsoring me this season as I journey to be #1 in the ITC. All the links are down below, and thanks a lot for watching. I've been Skari, your grateful host. Sign off until next time. The Dark Kin. Bye, everybody.